So
How hard were you throwing in high school?
my junior year, I was like 83, 86. I mean, I got like a little bit towards the end of the year, like maybe hit like 88, 89. And then senior year, I was probably like 88, 92, somewhere around there. But I didn't really start throwing hard till like senior year. I mean, like that's pretty hard for a senior, but first year of Pro Bowl, I hit 98. So like I kind of like found myself that following year.
Was that speaking of that, how do you shake off an outing? Like you suck one day, you get shelled. How do you shake that off for the next game?
I think so much of it's just like once you suck enough times, like it's hard when you first get into pro ball and like it really, really takes its toll. Like you get all sad and frustrated when you're young and angry and like it's just the more you do it and the more you suck, the more you get used to like, whatever, get the next one. Like it really is like it's not doing you any favors by like sitting and dwelling on a bad start. So a bad one for me, like that day, I'll take time to process it and understand what I did wrong. With the following day, like I just got to forget about it. Like I have to go out and get my mind on like the next set of hitters and like the next series. But it gets easier as you fail more for sure.
So struggling helps you in your mental Rolodex to have something to pull back on and say, you know what, I've overcome this before too.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, like you find the like your rock bottom starts and stuff, and you're like, oh, it's not as bad as that one. And like it's just too, it's like who cares? You did bad yesterday, like whatever. You have like 30 more starts, just forget about it. And the more like when you're younger, if you get into that victim mentality and like don't shake it off, that's when in one bad start turns into like four. So you just got to be like, all right, whatever. You can tell yourself whatever. Hitters got lucky, I sucked. Like that's just how it goes. And then you just got to go and get the next one. I operate like I want everyone around me like to do well. I think it would be, I don't know, because if you go out and do your job and pitch well, like you're always going to have a job, you're always going to pitch, you're always going to do everything. And I think once you're on a team where everyone is pitching well, like all the starters are good and all the bullpen people are good, it really brings everybody up to a certain level. You kind of like, you don't compare yourself to the other starters, but like there's something about like a team full of good pitchers that just elevates everyone's game. So if as long as you're working in a crew and like trying to get better, I think there's no reason to like ever try to break anyone down.
and you mentioned, are you mostly looking for Ks though? I mean, what's your mental approach of that?
I just think it's more about like a mentality of every pitch I throw, I want to throw it with like everything I have, like everything I have, not exactly like 100% effort, but I'm just like, I want conviction behind every pitch. And like, if I'm executing and hitting my spots, I don't necessarily want to strike everybody out, but it's like, if you're executing and hitting your spots and doing what you need to do, like generally, if you have good stuff, you're going to strike guys out. So it's not, my only goal is not to go out and strike guys out, but I just need to be aggressive. And usually when I'm on and aggressive, it just leads to strikeouts.
I know Randy Johnson, who is a tall guy, 6'10", said tall guys really aren't meant to be a pitcher. Like he felt like he had to work really hard to time everything up. And I'd imagine that probably happens with you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I think like a little adjustment, like a little, like when you're off just by a tiny bit, it just kind of, by the time you release the ball, like a little centimeter off turns into like 4 inches off. So it just seems like I've always had trouble like doing consistent timing and like figuring out my mechanics and whatnot. But like as I get older and like kind of you get more reps under your belt and you become like athletic and you don't get all robotic, that's really what kind of helps me. But I would say it's probably harder for tall guys to throw strikes, but you do have a higher upside. Like the leverage you can create does allow you to have some nasty stuff, but I think it's just hard to time up, especially when you're young. So you have to like make sure you just stick with it and don't get too discouraged when you're not throwing strikes.
Yeah, and